Hi guys, I'm just going to do a video on the iPhone 5 benchmarks. Now that it's been released, we've got a lot more benchmarks and they're a lot more solid than what we had before. We know the iPhone 5 has a A6 processor with a PowerVR MP3 GPU. There is more to that GPU name, I just can't bother to go through it. First thing that's interesting to note is the fact that you can see in this Geekbench the iPhone ranges from 743 MHz all the way up to 1.2 GHz. This is really interesting because the iPhone 5 or the iPhone in general on iOS always been around 800 MHz to a gigahertz. So 1.2 GHz is quite a high clock. So they're actually starting to get to like the Android levels of clock speed. We know this A6 is going to be powerful, but with that kind of clock speed it's going to be even better. So let's get on with these benchmarks. So what we've got here is browser mark, which is a test of the browser's capabilities, its speed and all that stuff. The first thing that we should note is these were both run on the iPhone 5 and you can see different scores. The reason being is this one was run on a carrier network and this one was run on Wi-Fi. So he's getting about a 10% decrease of performance when he's on a carrier network. I'm not sure if that's because he's on LTE, maybe it draws more power and it just like bogs down the CPU, or if it's just easier on Wi-Fi so that it gets a higher score. Nonetheless though, this browser mark score is impressive. If we scroll down here and look at the other numbers, they're showing it on the carrier one. The Apple iPhone 5 is top. It does beat the international Galaxy S3, which is the quad-core version. So we know the A6 is the dual-core chip, but it's running slightly new architecture, and it is helping against a quad-core A9 Galaxy S3, and it's beating it. And it's beating it by like a margin. The Galaxy S3 is above the rest of them by a mile, and then the iPhone 5 is above it. So 191,726 compared to 172,237. So yeah, the Apple iPhone 5 is a strong competitor, we know that much. Browser mark is also, a lot of it is down to software improvements. So if they've made software improvements to the browser, it will really make a big difference. So let's move on. SunSpider, this is a Google benchmark which measures JavaScript performance. The first phone on the list to break the 1,000 barrier, which is good. I mean, my laptop, which is an M15X, scores about 228. So that's the sort of levels these phones are getting to now. It's not the first phone I've seen under 1,000 though. Not on here that has been benchmarked, because it's not been released yet, is the Galaxy Note 2, and that does also score under 1,000, so that's going to be an interesting competitor to the iPhone 5, I think. Nonetheless, it's still top of the list. Google V8 benchmark is beating the Snapdragon S4. Not by a lot. We know the S4 is again the new architecture, so they're pretty similar there. Google Octane, it's winning. Let's get to some more interesting benchmarks. I've done a video on my Galaxy S3 running Geek benchmark, so check that out. It actually beats the iPhone 5. It gets about 1,811 on its top score. I've actually seen it at 19,000. So on that test, the Galaxy S3 is better. You can see here versus the 4S, average is 2.13 times the performance, which is what Apple quoted, so that's pretty good. Let's get to some more benchmarks though, more interesting stuff. The GL benchmarks, this is the graphical tests, and you can see here the only thing that beats it is the Apple iPad. We know the Apple iPad has a epic GPU, the MP4. This thing is crazy running at that resolution, and it's amazing. The iPhone 5 is beating the Mali 400, but saying that, the Mali 400 is running at 720p resolution compared to the 640 Retina resolution. So that will make a difference, but not such a massive difference. this CPU and GPU combination the iPhone 5 has, make no mistake, is a beast. Okay. Again, only comes second to the iPad, new iPad here. Let's get some more interesting stuff. It actually beats the new iPad here, but again, that'll be due to resolution. 98.4 versus 71.5. None of the other Android competitors are coming close in these tests. Let's get to some more stuff we actually recognize here. Where's the stuff we normally talk about? Here we go. The Egypt HD test. Now look at this. This is what I find really interesting. The LG Optimus G with the S4 Pro, which is a quad-core new architecture with the Adreno 320, which is their new graphics, Qualcomm's new graphics. Look how close it is to the iPhone 5's graphics capabilities, 39 to 37.5, but the Adreno 320 is running at 720p. Therefore, this Adreno 320 is right up there with the iPhone 5 graphics. If it could even be better. It does beat it, 39 to 37, but again, the resolution is making a difference. So I really can't wait to try out this Adreno 320 because it looks like it's epic. What else have we got? I mean, here, the off-screen 1080p test, which is my point, because then we're not running at their native resolution, we're running it on off-screen 1080p test. Check it out. The Optimus G with its Adreno 320 beats the iPhone 5 with its MP3 GPU, sorry. So you could state the argument the Adreno 320 is probably more powerful than what the iPhone 5 graphics is, which is amazing. This S4 Pro and Adreno 320 combination is great. You can see it's beating it by a few frames, 27 to 29. It's very impressive. This S4 is going to be something to be reckoned with. You can compare it to the Mali 400 and the S3 only getting 13. That's the international version. This is the American version getting 13 as well. So, I mean, I really wish that the Galaxy S3 had the new Mali, the Mali 604 or the Adreno 320, but then they wouldn't have had the Exynos. The new Mali GPU will be good. We just don't know what they're going to put it in yet. What else have we got here? Yeah, in this GPU test, most of these, the Galaxy S2 running at low resolution hits the frame cap. The Optimus G at 720 is hitting the frame cap, and the Apple iPhone 5 is hitting the frame cap. So these things have really, really good graphics chips inside. Now here's an interesting one. Egypt's classic off-screen 1080p. Here the Adreno 320 doesn't do too well, and in fact the iPhone 5 wins them the whole thing. Again, beats the iPad, but the iPad's running at a much, much higher resolution. Nonetheless, the iPhone 5 wins this. Again, in versus the 4S in graphical performance, it's 2.26 times the performance. So really, really impressive stuff here. And that's the end of the benchmarks. What can we say about it then after looking at all those benchmarks? Well, what we can say is the iPhone 5 has a really good GPU, but it is running at that Retina resolution that isn't 720p. So it is very good. I mean, it's topping all these charts. The CPU at the moment is untouchable. It's hitting the top performance of everything. You know, it's getting great SunSpider, great browser mark stuff. So they've done a lot of optimization there. Actually, I should probably take that back. It's probably not the best CPU because, I mean, in the Geekbench score, which does the CPU, tests the CPU properly, my Galaxy S3 beats it. 1604 is good, but it's not the best score. Galaxy S3 International gets 18 and 11. So yeah, take from benchmarks what you will, you know. What I'm taking from it is I'm really excited to see the S4. We knew the iPhone 5 was going to have a good processor being the A6 and a good GPU, and it does. By the time a year passes, it'll probably be somewhere in the middle of the list. New stuff's always coming out. But people cannot say anymore that the iPhone doesn't have a good CPU and GPU because, you know, it's right up there now. Really, really high performing stuff. So yeah, guys, have a good day. Let me know what you think.